Let's jump right into the intro, shall we? That's right. Welcome to the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. And don't mind me if I'm looking up. I just got like this gigantic monitor in front of me, and my keyboard is below me. So I gotta. So bear with me, folks, as we get into this new technology thing, and we try to make the best out of it. I will have it all figured out next time. I will have it all adjusted to scale so we don't fail. Welcome to the Real HD Show. And hopefully when we go to the Ancestors and Elders Blueprint, because it will be featuring the esteemed Dr. Neely Fuller. And matter of fact, without further ado, let's go do that while I make some changes to the highs and lows of the set. Elders and Ancestors Blueprint, the esteemed Dr. Neely Fuller, Real HD Show. Check it out. Salute to hip hop cartoons for this one. Go mob their channel.
Need a code. That's the missing link. That's why I'm trying to write one. A lot of people have asked me, well, Fuller, where's the whole code? I say there's no such thing as a whole code in anything until what? All problems are solved. So black people, since we have been denied everything that makes sense for so long, we should, to compensate for that, try to do everything that makes sense. That's the yin and yang of it. If you've been taught from birth that you are supposed to be, that you, first of all, are genetically inferior, so therefore you're also stupid, and you're supposed to remain stupid. I think as Dr. Kathy Hughes has said, used to use the term SOS, stuck on stupid. Well, the white supremacist says, yes, if you're black, you're supposed to be stupid. You're supposed to be stupid all the time. You don't do anything that ever makes sense because you're black. And you're a black person, every move that you make all day long and everything that you look forward to doing is going to be super stupid because you're black. Now, if we're going to have a repair job, we should take just the reverse. Everything that we do is going to be constructive. See, if we study, many black people have been in what we call prison. In the textbook that I've written, I call it greater confinement, because we are born in prison. The system of white supremacy is the only government we've ever known. So that's a prison system itself. So we're treated like prisoners. We're assigned cell blocks. I mean, even the architecture where they build, where black people are, kind of follows the prison, what we call the greater confinement pattern. Wire, concrete, everything hard, no grass. In fact, some so-called prisons, what we call prisons, Angola, Alcatraz and all like that, it's got some grass growing on some of them because they have the prisoners take care of the lawns and whatnot. With where black people are, even all over the world, what we call the mother countries and all like that, one of the first things you notice, where's a lot of people, there's a lot of mud, roads, just where most of the huts are and whatnot. No grass, no well-tailored lawns of any kind, just dirt and sand, okay? Now, most prisons look like that, in particular in the old days, back when they had the gray walls. That was long before they started polishing floors and all like that and making the prisons look better, which is what they have done for black people worldwide. We're still in a prison, all of us, and they have made the prison look better, all right? But we're still in prison because we can't go here and go there. We have to get permission to do everything, get permission in all 9 areas of activity to do anything from the prison masters, who are always white. The prison masters are white. So we act like prisoners. What do prisoners do when they're allowed to go out in the yard and stay and mill around for a while? Because that's all black people do when we get together. We're always talking about black people need to get together. What do we do when we get together? We mill around looking at each other, and then at a certain point, we don't like what we're looking at, meaning us. And then we do what? Find a reason to start an argument. That's what we do better than anything. Find a reason to start an argument. We do that. All you have to do is just get a bunch of us together, and we don't know what to do when we get together except just mill around like prisoners in a prison yard. That's what they do, just mill around. They ain't got no plans for nothing. So they're just walking from one wall to the other, and that's what we do. Just walk from one wall to the other, one street to the other, one yard to another, one room to another, until we get tired of that. Then we pay attention to what? Each other. And once we pay attention to each other, we find something that we don't like, because we don't like ourselves. We've been trained not to by the white supremacists. So what we do is start what? Not a constructive conversation about doing anything constructive. We start some type of criticism, some type of name calling, usually in the form of some type of joke that turns out not be a joke. And then it turns into some kind of insult of some type. And even at barbecues and all like that, next thing you know, you go from arguments to what? The logical course of an argument is what? Next, a fight. And go from a fight to what? Killing. And then the white supremacists already know that in their prison yard. They know their prisoners are going to get out there in the prison yard. They stay out there long enough, bumping into each other. A fight is going to start. And then if they got any kind of shank, as they call them, behind walls, any kind of weapon, they're going to use that on each other. And then the prison masters have to come in, as usual, and clean up the mess. And wherever you find black people, you find black people with young people saying what? Like when I turn on the TV every day, or if I turn it on even 5 years from now, or 10 years from now, with the kind of situation we have always had, it's a black lady sitting there talking about, I got to get out of this neighborhood. Well, you're always talking about black people getting together, so y'all together, okay? But what do we do when we get together? Find a way to start killing each other. That's what we do. We're going to find a way, because that's all we know. I mean, we run out of things to do, which is what prisoners do, run out of things to do. You don't have a plan for the future or nothing, so you turn on each other. The white supremacists know that. This is why all over the world, not just here, not just Chicago and Washington, D.C., and Cleveland, Ohio, San Diego, California, wherever, not just there, but everywhere you find black people. And most of them are trying to get away from each other after they spend all that time trying to get with each other. Because we don't know what to do when we get with each other, except fight. Because that's what we've been trained to do by the white supremacists, and we don't even know it. Because that's what prisoners of war do. They have low self-esteem, so they can't stand themselves, and they can't stand anybody who looks like them, looks like us. We can't stand anybody that looks like us, and we can't stand us when we look in the mirror, because we don't like nothing that we see, because we're not in charge of nothing. That's why, including ourselves. And we keep lying to ourselves like we are not in that position, and that is even worse insanity than being insane, when you start lying to yourself about the truth. So we turn on each other in answer to the person's question. And the code says we have to learn that we are that way. So what do you do about it? Don't get with another black person unless you have something constructive to say or do. Now, if you don't remember anything else that's said in this program, because we've been talking about the problem all this time, almost for 2 hours, like we do every time. But I like to talk about the code says it's about problem solving. So how do you solve that problem? Black people are always turning on each other. Every time we get together, everybody starts an argument, and the next thing you know, we do what we do best, turn on each other, go at each other full tilt. And then the white supremacists have to come in and clean up the shell casings all over the place, all right? And then we're pleading with them, please, master, get me out of here. Get me out. I got to get straight out of Brooklyn. I got to get straight out of Compton. I got to get straight out of what, boy? Straight out of what, gal? Straight out of where people that look like me are, because it's hell here. Every time we get together, it's hell. Master, please send me somewhere else. Well, somewhere else like where, boy? Don't you like being with your own people? Send me where you at. Okay, you want to come where I am? Yeah, because it's safe over there. It makes more sense over there. People act like they got a little bit of sense. I want to go there. So we move there, okay? And then what do? I kind of miss my homies, you know? I kind of miss them. I don't know how to relate to these white folks. So what do? You petition and say, we need to bring some black people in here. Those are the same black people you just got through running from. Like right now, as we talk, all over the world, I'm talking about all over the world now, black people. Black people are asking one question, many of them, the most educated ones. Let me out of here, away from these other black people. Which way did the white people go?
Yo, that brother could keep going and going and going and going. Shout out to the Honorable Dr. Neely Fuller, and that oration was off the hook. And the reason why I chose it is because of the, Thanksgiving holiday that just, preceded. And everybody had their plate of mush, and everybody got together with their family. And some families, it turned out to be harmonious, and for some, chaos. What's your thought after hearing that clip by Dr. Neely Fuller? It went on for another 4 minutes. I didn't want to play the next 4 minutes.
It's spot on, man.
Yeah.
It's spot on.
What do you think about that in lieu of the Thanksgiving holiday? And not everybody makes it out of those scenarios in one piece. Some people leave, in mental chaos, and some people leave, with a diabetic coma. What's your thoughts?
Well, family does have a way of, hitting those triggers.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can see where, there might be some fighting going on, and in some areas where it gets a little crazy, where there be some gunshots. You know what I mean? So you're like,
Yeah.
oh shoot,
Yeah.
you know, it can go down like that.
For
So, you
sure.
know, and it's stressful times too, man. So,
Yeah.
you know, if you can't go to your family and get that find that happy place, it's got to be tough, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, between living in an aggressive world, a world that don't value you, you know, a world where there's always aggression towards you. Um, you know, and then you go to be with family, and you know, family is cutting up. Family knows what know what your general life issues are, and
Right. They know how to push them buttons.
yeah, man, there's always one. They got something to say that you just wish they don't say. You love them, but you still have to bust them in the lip,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. For
or
sure.
you
For
may
sure.
want to bust them in the lip. It's gonna at least be that much.
For sure. So that was our elders and ancestors blueprint. Always, always, always provocative, always, very poignant. And now we're going to get into something that we haven't done in a minute, which is our lit city report. The wacky, the wild, the wonderful things that keep our world going round. And I want to feature something that's about to pop off in our I'm not sure when it's coming out, but it's going to come out soon. Because your boy Zell, your boy Denzel, is about to do it again. Denzel Washington is set to star as the Carthaginian general Hannibal Barca in the upcoming release Hannibal. Why they cast a black actor for the historical figure who was Phoenician and not black sub-Saharan African. Uh, that's the critique, but that's the news. Denzel Washington set to play Hannibal Barca, the one and only on the Maleficents. What's your thoughts, bro? You
Wait
in
a
for
minute, put
you?
that back up because that read kind of funny to me.
Okay, that's
Okay,
off
so
of
who was Phoenician? Okay, and not black sub-Saharan Africa.
yeah.
Well, you know, it's funny. You know,
That's them. That's
this
that
is
self hatred
constant.
we were just talking about.
Uh, yeah, I guess it depends on who wrote it. But what I find
Right.
interesting is, you know, we can depict and have people play all types of black roles. You know, you got Al Pacino playing Carlito, Puerto Rican brother from the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
But yet,
Carlito's Way.
yeah, yeah,
Famous role for him. Great role for him.
yeah.
Yeah.
But what was funny is other people can't seem to play other figures. If this is just acting, why does it matter what color the person is? That was always my question. But, you know, if we're going to deal with it from a historical perspective, who said the Phoenicians weren't dark? There's just an assumption based on what's happening currently in that modern day area that they call, you know, the Middle East or Northern Africa. You know, it. You know, Americans are so uh, internationally illiterate and historically illiterate. So I can see a stupid statement like that being made.
Yeah. What do you think of the role? Because I wasn't really so much. I wanted to get into um the the comment afterwards, but we got to that first. My lit city report and why I think it's wonderful is because you get a brother of that sort of acting chops to
Yeah.
play what is a stolen legacy, like macro super figured, and that needed his story told in the right way. And if there's anybody,
That part is dope
yeah.
because and I don't know if is he involved in some of the production of that movie. I'm curious about that part
he has enough
because I
gravitas
think
as an
that
actor
part is
now.
what
Hold on, let me see something. Let me pull it up. Keep talking. Let me pull that up and let me see if he is in
you know,
fact
the
involved.
only reason why I asked that because I think I have I have a sneaky feeling that he might have had something to do with that. So that's how that role is coming about. And he is
Right.
one of the power brokers in Hollywood. So, and if he ain't a power broker, he at least can call some shots. You know what I mean? And he's the guy who gets to do what he wants to do in Hollywood. So I can see a movie of that magnitude of him playing that role. The beauty of it is, I would say this, is that it's not some cheap, let's just go ahead and make the movie knockoff that we typically get out there. And don't be surprised, there will be a movie that someone's going to make with their camcorder, or probably now with their iPhone. That's going to be the same movie, but it's going to be a little bootleg version because someone always tries to put out a bootleg version.
Right. Well, Anton Fuqua, that's his boy.
Yeah.
He's the one directing it.
Okay.
So I'm sure. Oh, okay. So it says Washington had reportedly had his eye on this project for over 2 decades, but Fox wanted to do it when the industry veteran did not want to be away from his kids for an extended period. Okay, so they've been trying to get him to. So Fox, who is endorsing the flick, Fox Media Company, wanted Denzel to play the part, and he didn't want it, and they wanted to push it years earlier, and they sold it to Netflix.
Oh wow!
And now Netflix and Denzel pulled Antoine Fuqua, for the directing of it. So yeah, he did have something to do with it.
Okay, so I guess it's going to be pretty hard. It should be a pretty hard hitting movie, I would say.
Yeah, that should be hard.
Because you don't have to worry about. Oh, excuse me, man. Sorry about that. You don't have to worry about any of this, this general Hollywood nonsense. Yeah. That's the beauty of, the Netflix platform, is that, you can put out some hardcore stuff and be as accurate as you want to be, whether people like it or not, because you don't have to watch it. Yeah. And for those who want to watch it, they'll watch it.
And then, of course, if it's Antoine Fuqua, who has done a lot of Denzel-based movies that have gotten a lot of critical acclaim, and then also is a stalwart director in his own right, who has a tremendous resume behind him, they're going to give him more reach than they would a normal director, and he's going to be able to do what he wants to do with it. Big up to Denzel. I hope he rocks the mic, as they say. I hope he does his thing. I hope he wins an Oscar for it, because it's about time to tell a melanated man and his conquering story in the correct way. I just hope that at the end, when that Carthaginian regiment goes down, they don't kind of glorify the Roman side of it, when really the triumph was the defeat of Rome, when no other military unit in history has ever done it before. So as long as they stick to that sort of theme, I think they'll be okay. But if he has to go down by getting shot by 30 arrows in his chest, and come on, I like Leonidas 300, come on.
Well, once again, it's not a Hollywood movie, so
yeah,
I'm hoping that it won't fall along those lines.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So let's get to it, man. Let's get to the rest of it. AAT report on deck. Healthy, wealthier, and wiser for a brand new you. We're not going to do music. We are just going to get right to it. So our AAT report starts with this right here. Conference report: digital skills, a hidden super social determinant of health. And I thought this article was interesting because it talked about how if we're not Wi-Fi accessible, tech savvy, or tech literate, that's going to be an ultimate social determinant of health for indigent, melanated populations across the planet and across the world. What's your thoughts on that, man? I'm gonna pull up the article while you're giving your initial thoughts, and then we could jump right in and begin to swim.
I find that quite interesting, mainly because it appears to be that there's a lot of things that's going online. But I think also too, I think we might be given a trick bag to where we're
Let's
being
go.
pushed we're being pushed into something that they can control. And then what happens if we do have that cyber pandemic? Then what's going to happen to those who become dependent on it?
Right.
So we need to take time out all the time where we need to have at least once a week where you have uh, a day of cleansing, and that's also cleansing yourself of technology and trying your best to maybe go off the grid for a short while. Put down the TV, play some music, because music is one of those things that I know for me, it's part of my soul. But throw some music on, put the phone down, walk away from the laptop or the desktop, whichever one you got, and learn to function without it. Go get
Yeah,
reacquainted with going to the library.
absolutely. So let me read a little bit of this. So it says Case Western University colleague Adam Perzinski documented large disparities in the use of patient portals among 243K ambulatory patients in Cleveland's Metro Health System, noting that the portal non-use was strongly related to the neighborhood level access of the internet. To address these issues, he has been testing the model we developed, in which community health workers screen patients for gaps in digital skills and connectivity. If needed, patients are referred to community digital service organizations for training, free or low cost computers, phones, and discount data plans. Trained community health workers then coach patients to use their portals either on the spot or at longer scheduled classes. Preliminary results are promising. Um, so it also says panelists immediately embraces the framing of digital skills and connectivity as quote super social determinants of health because they affect the ability to address all of the others. Um, Says that connected health tools such as patient portals to electronic health records, remote monitors, mobile apps hold great promise for improving health, but their impact at the population level will be limited by the lack of digital skills and affordable connectivity. So, in other words, they're saying that you won't have access to the tech nuances of health if you don't have Wi-Fi and if you're not, up into the latest of computer connectivity, Wi-Fi, computers, tablets, so on and so forth. Now, you made a great point, which was my point, that you might be dealing in some subterfuge here because that all that really does is give them access to what they always used to do, which is data collect.
And that's a big one because we as a people, even though a lot of us are online, I mean, they keep trying to say that we're not online. A lot of us are online. We're just not online in the way in which they want us to be online. And one of the
Right.
things that's not going on is a lot of us may not have home internet, but we have phones. You know what I mean? And we do access data, but what happens is, a lot of us will jump on a free Wi-Fi at the moment, wherever we can find one. So we do have access. We don't have the apps, for example. And one of the things too is, for example, say now with like pacemakers, loop recorders, things like that, that are medical devices that you get on you. They now have apps and they interact with your phone, and it sends the data back and forth, and they can test for whatever they're trying to test for. So it's things like that that's going on, and I can see to a degree of why that's important. But once again, given history, there's always something clandestine going on.
Mm.
There's something
Yeah,
bigger that we ain't talking about or dealing with that's taking place.
absolutely.
And we always got to be aware of that and keep that in the back of our mind.
Yeah, man. I think with the Medicaid community or the melanated community, see what I did there.
Mm.
With the melanated community, there's always been inkling, if not a great amount of distrust for the medical institution in the United States. And there's been a synapse between the Medicaid community totally giving into the whims of what hospitals and health institutions want you to do, and still retaining some semblance of sovereignty and control over their own, the way they, the way they do their own thing. Now, if you're super interconnected and your pacemaker is monitored, your CPAP machine is monitored, and all of the things that all of the crucial things that you need to run smoothly and help you assist you with your health. Now you're at their mercy, and they can cut you off remotely. They can control your health outcomes remotely, and all those things become things of worry and concern. We are dealing with the descendants of the night doctors with the night terrors, dating back to when they used to dig up melanated people's cadavers and use them for scientific research, or you'd be on the sharecropping plantation and somebody's little girl goes missing overnight and nobody knows what happened to them, but yet the doctor got the the snatched up person and said, "Oh, we found her dead in the ravine." Really? So
Exactly.
we always needed a semblance of separation between ourselves and the macro institutional world that wants to super manage our lives. And with this just closes the gap to where possibly it may not even be a thing where it's unclosable. Once you kind of jump down
Mhm.
Pandora's box with this thing, can you reverse course? Peace, Jasmine. What's going on, Jazzy?
Peace, peace. I'm in the background, but I'm here to join the conversation and listen as well and participate.
Ah,
I'm
What's
ah.
I'm on
happening?
mom duty right now. My bad. But I did
No,
No,
love
you
this
good. I
topic.
told you we'll be on here till about 9:30 or so. So jump on when you can. But we're glad
Okay.
you joined us.
nah, that's
Absolutely. I
fire,
definitely want to
Jazzy. I
hear the
appreciate it.
dialogue. So I'm definitely all ears.
Yeah, man.
All
We're talking
righty.
about these internet and Wi-Fi tech accesses, and will that be social determinants of health for melanated people going forward, or is that a trick bag? And will that be something, a Pandora's box, so to speak, that we can't close? Um, your thoughts, man. And we're gonna kind of move on because I got some other stuff I want to jump into as far as AAT report goes. Go ahead. We got a delay on the
No, I hear you.
oh, okay. Okay. Well, you know what? Let's keep it pushing it. Because I wanted to play a little clip, and I think it's really interesting, and I think we need to talk about it. And it's super related to what we're dealing with right now with health. And it's about these new quarantine rules that Hochul just put into effect. And I think we need to be aware of them, talk about them, and then have a higher discussion. Jump in anytime you want, Jazz.
Hochul's plans for quarantine camps may be in the works again. An appeals court just dismissed a lawsuit from lawmakers and citizen groups. Their attorney, Bobby Ann Cox, disagrees with the decision. We spoke earlier today. Bobby Ann Cox, welcome to our show. Thank you so much for joining us. To begin with, can you please explain the judge's ruling in this case and your initial response here?
Yes, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. So what happened was the Fourth Department Appellate Division here in New York State ruled that my plaintiffs, Senator George Borrello, Assemblyman Chris Tague, Congressman Mike Lawler, and a citizens group called Uniting New York State didn't have standing to bring the lawsuit last year, which, if you recall, we actually won the lawsuit last year at the trial court level when the court ruled in our favor and said that this regulation that Governor Hochul and her Department of Health made it was an unconstitutional regulation on multiple levels. So now this appellate court, which, of course, the governor and the attorney general appealed to this court, they tried to overturn our decision. And yeah, the court came down and said, well, you know what? We're not even going to talk about the merits here, whether or not this regulation was unconstitutional or not. We're just going to say, hey, you know what? We don't think you had the right to bring the lawsuit in the first place last year.
And what's your assessment of that decision? What's your assessment of the reasoning here?
Yeah, it's pretty surprising, I have to say. The trial court judge last year didn't even discuss standing. It was an argument that was brought up by the attorney general last year at the trial court, but it's so obvious that we have standing that the trial court judge didn't even discuss it in his decision. So it was very surprising, and I don't agree. My plaintiffs and I do not agree with this ruling. We do not believe that sitting New York State legislators and the people of New York State, in a citizens group, don't have standing. It doesn't make sense. So We definitely disagree with this ruling.
And just for our viewers, what would be the potential impact of this ruling for New York, for the rest of America? As you've said, it could have an impact on the whole nation.
Yes. So what has happened with this ruling is that they have said, in essence, the lawsuit last year, the ruling there isn't valid anymore. So what that means is that the Department of Health and Governor Hochul are open to reissuing that regulation if they want to, which means they can reinstitute their isolation and quarantine procedures regulation, which the judge had struck down last year. So if they can reissue that now, that means that it's going to be a valid regulation and it's going to be enforceable by the Department of Health, the governor, the attorney general. So it's really a dangerous situation. The other thing, and in addition to that regulation now being open to being reissued, the other problem is that this is really bad case law. An appellate court.
All right, she's gonna go on and continue to go on. So that's about five more minutes. I'm not gonna play that, but here's what I want people to know. Reason to leave New York. Rule 2.13 gives New York the ability to come in your home and take you away to quarantine without notice. Keep you as long as they like and treat you as they see fit, using methods that are still in testing. Leave now. So that's what some of the immediacies and the emergencies that are going on with this new law, or the new order, I should say, not law, because it's not law yet, but new order that was just instituted and overturned in a circuit court of New York. And you see how they keep want to, go volley. Well, if you don't approve my order, I'll go to another judge and have another judge approve it. So they'll just keep marching it all the way up to the Supreme Court. And I just want to have you guys' thoughts on the fact that they're trying to ramp up isolation and quarantine all over again, and then make the rules even more stringent, strict, and taxing on sovereign citizens, especially melanated people, when it comes to these quarantine and these COVID-related measures. What's your thoughts on that, bro? Are you hip to that, or?
Yeah, here's what's interesting about all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Is when I remember in college and I was coming into all this new enlightenment of the world and all the different kind of stuff, and I used to listen to a lot of these right-wing patriot groups, and they used to talk about in the future what's going to happen in America, because we are going to live in concentration camps and stuff like that. And I used to look at these folks like, man, these folks are off their rocker. How are they going to put people into concentration camps? And then as you go along, you're taught throughout this whole process, black folks, we need to vote Democrat. We got to get Trump out of office. Got to make sure we put these good old Democrats in office. But as we are here, we now in 2023, bordering 2024, what do we see? We see every time we turn around, there is some liberal Democrat putting into effect something that limits the liberties of melanated people and people in general in America, and especially in this state of New York. And Kathy Hochul is one of the leaders of this stuff. And here we go again. You know, this is how you manipulate and control the people. And as we move into an ESG world, you don't have to worry about people's carbon footprint. You don't have to worry about whether or not, you used up all your social credit score is high or low, because you're going to be in a concentration camp. And how are they going to do it? Through a pandemic. Come grab you and isolate you. I mean, this stuff sounds, once again, we always say this on the show, it sounds like we got our tinfoil hats on. But look at what's happening before our eyes. If you would have said this to someone 5 years ago, and that it was being done by Democrats, the first thing they would always focus in on was Trump. Trump this, Trump that. We got to get him out of office. We got to vote Democrat. We didn't vote third party when we could have now gave us a viable third party. We were so concerned about getting Trump out of office. We voted for, Slick Joe. And then what happens from there? Slick Joe and all his minions, all the other Democrats that are in office. And these are the same people who has historically, for the past 50 years, have shown to be the biggest enemy of melanated people.
Yes, sir. I think it's crazy. I think it's a slick back door. And it also can be used as like a case study for the rest of the country. If you could topple the largest state with the largest amount of people in it and get them to do the bidding of this new kind of WEF ESG sort of order, then the rest of the country is kind of fair game. You know what I mean?
All you got to get is New York and California. The rest of the country will fall.
Right.
I agree. I'm sorry. I'm here, guys. I agree with that sentiment. I think the biggest issue and concern for me is the fact that the judge not providing, what standing citizens of New York actually have to bring forth a legitimate lawsuit. That right there is just troubling as a whole for me, especially given the fact that, legislators and especially the governor, they depend on the people to, obtain their positions by acquiring the necessary votes. So if we put them in office, we place them in these positions, we're good enough to do that. But in the event if they commit an offense or an act against us, we don't have the ability or the resource, or we can't exercise our right to hold them accountable in a court of law. That, just to begin and start with, is what's kind of like scary.
It is. It's very scary.
And, and I think ultimately, with the plan in regards to, the concentration camps for the pandemic and et cetera, I think that Hochul is overexerting her authority because of the fact that I think, isn't she up for election soon again? Or I haven't been following, so forgive me for my naivety, but I just think overall, because Cuomo was so hard during the pandemic and he kind of set the precedent and the tone for being strict on COVID, I think that Hochul is just overexerting herself by trying to follow in his footsteps and, if not, do more.
Yeah, I don't think Hochul knows what she's doing, really. I think she's just following. She's the typical old guard. I mean, because she's probably, ain't she like 85, something like that? I don't know. I'm just exaggerating.
She don't look that old.
She up there. But, then again, they do age differently. But, but I mean, she's very much in the same vein as Joe Biden and
I agree.
other Democrats that are out there that we think that are all for.
But isn't Hochul a Republican?
No,
No, she's a Dixiecrat.
Democrats. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, my apologies.
No,
I
you're
didn't
fine.
know.
That's cool. You know, that's why we're here. We're here to have a higher discussion and toss the ball around and find out what we can find out and plan some moves and so we can bust a move. You know what I mean? So
Absolutely.
things don't.
That's why I say
Okay,
we
yes.
got to
Yep.
get.
I did miss that. Yes. I don't know why I thought that.
No,
No, no, you're good. Go ahead.
and we got to get off that Democratic plantation.
I agree. They are the worst. I'm not gonna lie. I honestly believe that they've done more harm to our country than good.
And especially for people who look like us,
Right. I
they
just
have
don't
Yeah,
really made our life horrible.
I
yeah,
agree. I just don't understand the sentiment of honestly with just all the amount of money that they've sent over to Israel and to the Ukraine. Honestly, with all that amount of money that they've supplied for wars that are not even I understand, the UN and, the agenda and the propaganda and trying to, overthrow and prevent the acquiring of those countries. But ultimately, like, I just don't feel or believe that no one in America should be homeless or going without food when we have the excess and are going into debt for wars that are not ours.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
The
we've
wars
had those
that,
conversations.
yeah, yeah, plenty. We dealt with that plenty. I'm glad you're giving your retort on it now. So
My
big ups
apologies.
to you. Nah, big ups to you for having the courage and come on because not a lot of people would only because they don't want to stick out their neck like that. I want to jump into something else really quick because we could talk about that forever and ever and ever. No, we
I
can't. We
agree.
can't. We can't because it's so pivotal. But we have a lot more to try to jump into. And I want to talk about. I want to get into something that we don't do a lot on the show, and that's our melanated mental health moment. Because I think our mental health is super important, and we don't talk about it, and we don't feature it enough, and we don't get into it enough. And one of the things I wanted to feature on the show was this article here that talks about Gen Z. So we often talk about Gen Z and what they are and what they ain't. And one of the things I'll bring up a better article here. Here's one. Gen Z is 74, I'll say 75% more likely than any other generation to want to homeschool their kids. Wow.
Well, it's funny because
Let's talk about it. If how
a
you
lot of
educate.
Gen Zers.
Hold on, let
And
me say this real quick.
Go ahead.
If how you educate yourself is not a determinant of mental health, I don't know what is. Go ahead, bro.
Oh no, I was just going to say I can see that, and I explain to you why. Because my son, who's a Gen Zer, he don't even want to have kids, and he specifically stated that if he was to have kids, that they cannot go to school in this crazy world. That he needs to keep them home long enough to where they can protect and defend themselves without him being around. And a lot of Gen Zers are very much they're accepting of a lot of things, but they do have a standard that we don't seem to recognize or understand.
Let me show y'all a video real quick before we jump into it because I want Jazzy's opinion on this too. Let's go to this, man. Why 75% of Gen Zs do not want to send their children to public school and want to homeschool. Check it out, Real HD Show. Oh, 1 second. Give me 1 second.
But they don't want them to meet me in Miami.
Oh man,
That was pitiful. I saw the little girl singing that, and they were trying to sing the song. Man, they're about 5 years old.
Yeah, that's gonna follow this. That's gonna follow this.
Okay.
That's gonna be Mozzie's Blacktastic take. Here we go.
Oh no,
oh
man! Don't do
boy.
that to me.
Look at the first clip though.
homeschool their kids more in the next 10 years than ever before. One reason is that we want the flexibility as a family to go travel and be in different places. I don't really want the school system telling me when I can and can't take my kids somewhere. Second reason is just what the schools are teaching these days. Obviously, the left-wing media and agenda has taken over a lot of the school system. And ideologically, I don't agree with a bunch of it. They're going to learn a lot more by being with me at work and with my family than they are in the school system. Another reason is I think homeschooling, self-learning, and online education is going to explode in the next 10 years. I don't think it's going to be weird anymore if someone is homeschooled. I think it's going to be a pretty normal choice that people make. Much like it was weird if you didn't go to college, it's now becoming very normal that people don't want to go to college and go into debt, and instead they would rather learn online from someone like me or anyone else who's actually doing something. So let me know your thoughts on homeschooling. Is it good long term? Will the kids get enough social skills? Let me know.
So let's follow it up with that second video, and then we can chop it up. Poor babies. Poor babies. And if this is not a reason to homeschool, I don't know what is. Real HD Show.
I'm going downtown.
Ooh, ooh.
It's trying to see me, and it's trying to see me, and it's trying to say what's up.
Well, this looks like the next group of kids that will be reading below grade level, that won't be making the math scores, that will be saying, oh, you know, they can't, the tests are too racist, they can't meet the requirements. Well, it's because you all are filling them with foolishness at such a young age. A lot of people had problems with the teacher, but this isn't as much the teacher's problem as it is the parents' problem. And I would go as far as to say the single mama's problem, because y'all are the ones raising these kids, because you keep having them with Tyrone and Pookie, and you're doing a terrible job. So I'm going to put this with the parents. It starts there first.
All right. All right. So you heard it. You heard it. So, you know, if there's ever a case for homeschooling, I think this is one of them. And the fact that they had schools allowing Sexy Red and her counterparts to come in schools and have that music in schools at school assemblies, like we featured in some of the previous episodes, is beyond me. I don't know how that person didn't get chased out of town, getting beat by a bag of rocks. I don't know.
You know, it's one thing that the parents are letting the kids listen to the song at home, but you know, the teacher needs to slow her roll just a little bit, because they're playing it at school. So, you know, it's one thing they're playing it at home and then the kids are coming to school singing it, but it appears to be that somewhere along the line in school, they're allowing this to manifest itself. Because, you know, we can be singing Old McDonald or something, but they ain't got to be sitting there ski-eating or whatever the heck they're doing, trying to meet each other in Miami.
Oh, gosh.
Not Miami. I'm crying.
but and the sad thing about it is that she's, you know, when she talked about, you know, another group of kids who are reading below grade level, the song is below grade level.
Thank you.
I mean, when remember back in the day, and we all into, you know, I'm not a big rap fan, but I can appreciate, you know, back in the 80s and the 90s, brothers was lyrical geniuses, man. Today, they just buffoons. And part of it is, I remember I was getting into an argument with one of my younger cousins, and he was like, no, you old heads, man, y'all just be, you know, and it was, I forget who he was talking about, but at the time, who versus who, but we were talking about Lil Wayne. He was one of the people. I said, man, Lil Wayne ain't that great. Oh, man, y'all just don't know all the good stuff he got. I'm like, man, that dude's about as illiterate as he coming, man. At that time when he came out, he sounded that way. And now Lil Wayne sounds like he's one of the baddest lyricists to ever walk the planet when you listen to the stuff you're listening to now. But it just goes to show you where we are as a people and what we've allowed to exist. And the sad part about it is we don't turn it off. It don't exist, especially in this day, in this digital world. If DKX, I shouldn't call them out like that, but The local radio channel here, when it plays it, we turn it off. They know it's been turned off.
Mm-hmm.
No one calls up there and say, hey, man, why don't play this, man. It's heavy in rotation, and we continue to listen to it. And then I was at a function, man, and somebody threw it on, and from 20-something to on up, they were all jamming to it. We at some point need to turn off Channel 0, man, and we have to make some crucial decisions. And that's ultimately has always been our problem here in this country, is that, and throughout recent history in particular, we want to be down with what's the latest and the hottest because it gives us a feeling of feeling good, because culturally we don't understand who we are. So we think the latest and the greatest, or if I got name brand or any of that kind of stuff, as long as I'm into that, I got it going on. Everybody going to like me. I'm going to be cool. But some of this stuff is bad for the soul, man. And we got to make a stand in the lives. Unfortunately, none of us make a stand.
Jazzy, what you think?
So ultimately, I think that homeschooling definitely has its advantages, and I think that the parents should have more of a say as to what is being instilled into their child and what they're being taught. I'm basically speaking more in a context of just from a historical one, because I don't even like the fact that they're teaching about LGBTQIA as a history to our students. I think that babies should be babies and kids should be kids and not have to deal with, grown decision making in their adolescent years. They're still trying to figure out who they are as a child. Let them enjoy their childhood and let them be children. You know what I mean? Their adulthood it'll come when it's supposed to. So just by them enforcing that and pushing that onto our children, I ultimately am not fond of it. So I don't know if they were to ever enforce it now and with my son, I would definitely pull him out and homeschool him. And then with regards to the reading level and things like that and the education system, again, it's up to the parents and it starts at home. Yes, they could. I do see some teachers taking, some of the song trends and they're taking the beats and the rhythms and are changing the narrative to implement it in an educational way, which is an innovative way to meet them where they're at, to bring them where they need to be. But do I think that they should be playing the actual song as a whole in its true form? Absolutely not. That's not the time nor the place for that.
Right. Absolutely. Check this out. This speaks to what you just said a minute ago. Check this out, Real HD Show. I don't know if you guys saw this, but if you did, bear with it. If not, let's rock out, Real HD Show.
Rips down a pride flag in a classroom. She says, I'm not paying my tax money to support this. Check this out.
I told you somebody parent gonna get mad. You need to be teaching history. 33, please. No, you need to be teaching history. Shut up. No, get out.
We could go all day long with that one. That was out of control. Let us know what you think.
The sad part about it is that's a lifestyle, that's not a history. And they're pushing more the lifestyle than they are the history. They want to. I don't think many people would have a problem per se if you talked about discrimination and the various people that may have been discriminated against. But when you now put this to the forefront as if this is something that is paramount in the world and paramount in this country, and it supersedes all other struggles. You know, the Native American has practically been wiped out. You know, Black folks have always been subjugated, marginalized, and the list goes on. So for this stuff to come to the forefront, in terms of just the daily lexicon, man, it has to stop, and it really does, because as we said before, you give me 10 men and 100 women, we have a thriving society. You give me 10 trans and 10 women and 100 women, all we'll have is bones. So something about this whole thing ain't ringing true to what nature is. So we have to figure that out. And I'm not discriminating against them. I'm just saying there are certain things that exist that, you know, to each his own, because we live in a so-called free society. But we need to start practicing things that we find that are promoting life, that's promoting harmony. You know, when you put these things on a scale and all this stuff is over here, things are out of balance. You know what I mean? And we don't think about that no more. That's one of the, you know, one of the 7 principles that exist in the known universe. You know, and that's balance and harmony. And of course, you know, because of the things that we believe in that don't exist no more.
I think. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, real quick, and then I'll let you jump in. One of the things I saw that was really peculiar to me is that she was hanging it over the American flag. Not that I'm in favor of American flag, but I am in favor of civics. And I am in favor of geography. And I am in favor of students. I've been teaching for over 20 years, and I am in favor of students understanding the geopolitical relationship, macro and micro, between international countries, international parties, and how it affects them as an individual person. So I don't think that a sexual gender and a lifestyle kind of leaning is more important than knowing those things and how you fit into the world that you live in.
Exactly.
But go ahead, Jasmine.
I just think that ultimately they need to put more emphasis on. I just feel like they shouldn't be teaching it in the schools. If we can't teach critical race theory, then they shouldn't be teaching that.
Great point.
That's all I'm gonna say to that.
Nah, great point. Nah, excellent point. Excellent point. Yeah, I just thought I've been waiting to play that video for such a long time, and I really never had the moment. And then you brought that up, Jazzy. Thanks for doing that so that I could rock that video. That video is so important. The mama went in there like Mama Bear.
And she should.
She should. She like, listen, I'm trying. My kid need to be learning some history.
Yeah, you know. So as poor as that's being taught, I applaud at least her ability to represent herself and represent what her taxes are going to, and represent her kids' future. You know what I mean? Because of course, that's what needs to be at the forefront. Awesome. So we're gonna get right to it. We're gonna keep plowing away. Power to the people news. Wait, what just happened? This just happened. Hold on. Let me get that up. Power to the people news. Wait, what just happened? This just happened. Let's check this out. Sister in Atlanta goes to buy a Subway sandwich and gets charged $7,000 in a mistake at a Subway sandwich restaurant. And then, of course, the article goes on to say that the bank didn't want to help her. The owner and the manager of the restaurant didn't want to help her. And she had to go through hell and hot water to get back her $7,000 because they overcharged her for a Subway sandwich. Now, we all go through these savage inequalities with money, and we're all trying to get better at it and maintain it and grow it. But when you have a $7,000 mistake due to some digital processing, what does that say for the future of what they're trying to change this economy into?
It says that we have people who don't dot their I's and cross their T's. And then the unfortunate thing is when they don't, that's where AI is going to come in at. But I'm curious, did she buy the sandwich? Did they make the sandwich and the lady told her $7 and she handed over her card and she rung up 7,000? Trying to follow the
Yeah,
the events.
Whatever happened with the machine, it rang up $7,000. She gave her card, and then the machine rang up $7,000 and processed it.
That's why also, and this one is kind of just me talking junk, but that's why you need to use your American Express when you travel.
Never leave home without it, right?
That's so funny. Because there was a video I saw. He was like, I never use my own debit card. If I travel anywhere, I will always put it on a credit card.
Mm-hmm. Especially Amex, because the one thing about Amex, membership has its privileges. And
Indeed.
You call them and say you ain't got to, man, they charge me 7 G's for a sandwich. That person say, yeah, that sounds kind of crazy. I'll deny that payment. Bink, bink, bink. Done. But if you get people who don't do their job, then you'll get that person on the phone. Yeah. Oh, you talking to me? Are you? Oh no, wait a minute. Hold on. If you want something from me, that ain't how you talk to me.
I'm crying. They exist in real life too.
Right, like the sister at Wendy's that wanted to fight the 80-year-old man for messing up the order.
I'm crying.
He went behind. She came from behind the counter.
Put him up, old man.
Put him up.
Did you see that there was there's a reel out there where the Spanish girl answers the phone. She could tell she's from like the Bronx somewhere in Manhattan, and she got that hard accent. And the lady started fussing with her, and she didn't say anything. And she was like, "Hello, you still there?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm still here." She said, "Well, why you ain't saying nothing?" She said, "Oh, you talking to me? I didn't know you were talking to me where you was talking. I thought you was talking to one of your kids or something like that." you calling me and you talking to me like this? Oh no,
that part.
This ain't happening. It's like, if you want something from me, you better learn how to talk to somebody. Otherwise, you're gonna get to meet my friend Daltone.
That part.
So let's have a higher discussion about it.
But the reality is, this stuff is not infallible, and when there's mistakes, there has to be a process to recover or to resolve the issue. And what happens a lot of times, and a lot of this, sometimes these issues are so paramount and so many rules are in place, people don't know what to do. But it also speaks to, if people don't want to help you, what kind of world we live in, man, where this is your job to help me with this issue and you don't want to help me with it.
I think the problem is that we live in a very entitled and egocentric and state right now. I think the ego death definitely needs to happen. Humility and generosity are are things that are slowly fading, and it's up to us to kind of like keep trying to pour in and keep that momentum going, because even when you're given from a genuine place and it's intentional, we have to be mindful and discerning as to who we're giving and pouring and doing for too. I mean, just because you're being paid to do it, yes, you're being paid to do it, but you have those that'll do just enough to fulfill it. But do a good job. If you're gonna do a job, do a good job at least. You know what I mean? And that is just not. It doesn't exist.
But what we also got to figure out and understand too is, as we move into a more technological world, what is going to be the implications when there's mistakes like that?
Indeed.
Or say you get hacked in this new digital economy, how do you resolve that?
True.
In a timely manner, so that it doesn't cripple your family.
Exactly.
Or put you at some sort of peril in your thing. Now, you had the Cash App crisis that happened.
Yeah.
The tech went crazy, and it put people in debt over that. And then now you also got a lot of the things that are happening on these PlayStations and Xboxes where they get hacked and people could hack people's accounts. And I think just like the education, we need to be very vigilant about where the model of this economy is going. Just don't let them push you into any old rigmarole, any old process of how you're going to handle your money, your finances, your accounting, your day to day. Be as responsible with that as you are about your entertainment. Be as responsible with that as you are your clothing. People love to go get that fit, and they go crazy over that fit now. Don't tell me I ain't matching. Don't tell me I ain't watching. But I don't even know how my money is being processed. I don't even know if the money I'm using to spend on this outfit is going to be processed correctly. You know what I'm saying?
And
So
if we go into this digital world,
we
don't have control over no money like that anymore.
Cash is king is starting to be no longer a thing.
Yeah.
So Jazzy, man, let me ask you a question. How you feel about the CBDC getting ready to be employed and having limits on how much money you can actually spend? And if you spend more than $400 to $4,000, you get red flagged or gray flagged, and now your accounts are frozen and different things are about to happen to your money and your finances. How do you feel about those types of living in a world where that sort of thing is a possibility?
It's entrapment. I would not like it. I would feel very constricted, and even as a human being, where we're supposed to be living in a place that's, given says that we're free and we're supposed to have liberty and justice and all these things. I mean, there shouldn't be a cap. Let it be just that, liberty and freedom. But we all know how that narrative goes.
Well, they can't control you and they can't monitor you if they can't control your bread, right? Check this out here. It says Governor Kathy Hochul has launched a new online surveillance program, including monitoring citizens' social media postings to counter the hatred by claiming there is a crisis of anti-Semitism in U.S. and New York. It says Kathy Hochul announces the state has started conducting special media surveillance efforts to monitor hate speech. What do y'all think?
That reminds me of the Bush administration.
1985.
And I think that's what the problem is that, these colonizers, they think that, because people are supporting, the Palestine and or Hamas and what's going on over there, that it's, it goes against the American way of life, and and everyone's supposed to push for Israel. And no, my thing is that how can you condone genocide when your own people were basically in genocide and now you're doing it to someone else? I'm not for it.
Well, I think it's just one of those things again. We've talked about in the past is that there's going to be manipulation and controlling of the people.
Right.
And unless we start to recognize that, we're going to be in for a rude awakening because they've put us in a pot of water and put it on low, and it's been heating up for the past 50 years. And when we finally realize it, it's going to be too late because the water's going to be boiling.
Go ahead, Mazi. I'm sorry.
No, and that's just it.
Right.
Go ahead.
It just angers me so much because at the end of the day, we put these people in place of power and they feel that they have too much power and it's overexerted. And like I said, we as a people, we always want to be in unity, but and come together as a collective, but because we obviously outnumber them. And it's just unfortunate that, there's so much, divisiveness and too many silos to where we can't come together and to control and initiate the change.
True. So the question then becomes that I have is, we know that Democrats are leading the charge on a lot of this stuff. We know there's a cadre in the Republican Party. They're just doing it differently.
Right.
But we also know within the Republican Party, there's a there's a patriot movement that's been going on for some time, in which they are very anti that. And they know and see these things are happening, and they want to fight against that. The question then becomes, which I always had, was they always wanted people to band with them so that the government don't manipulate and control our lives to the degree that they do. And I'd say, yes, let's do that. But the question then becomes, and when you listen to their rhetoric, it's kind of like it was in Vietnam. It's like it was in World War II. Help us fight this war. But when it's over, you go back to being subjected by us, because we're still going to be in charge.
Which is the lesser of two evils, basically.
Yeah. So that, we have to try to find a way as a people to navigate through that, and create a situation where maybe we just may be side by side fighting, per se, not joining to fight. But you attack from one end, we attack from the other, and we bring this down. And then we go and create our own separate worlds or society, or however we're going to do that. But we have to be careful, because this stuff is coming down the pipe, and it's us who is making this happen. Because we're the ones who have voted. Well, we know these folks wouldn't even be in office if it wasn't for us.
Yeah, man, that South Carolina rally was the only reason he even made it halfway to where he was.
Yeah.
Bernie was eating his lunch. If we remember, Bernie was eating that lunch.
Mm-hmm.
Bernie was a bully back then. And now it comes to a point where, and I'm not sure we would have been better off with Bernie. I'm just keeping it 1,000.
Right.
But I was talking about how the fight was as it was, in the current strata. But the thing that's crazy is that we all need a wake-up call. And this particular person, before I get into that, since Jazzy is our guest, I'm gonna give her the option, man. Jazzy, here we go. Red pill or blue pill? If I give you the blue pill, we could just be calm, cool, collected, smooth. We could believe in the Disney fantasies and the ponies and the My Little Pony and the fairy tales. Or I could give you the red pill. We could talk about some hardcore stuff and get to some truths, make some plans, and bust some moves out here. What's your
Red
choice?
pill, always. Come on
Red
now.
pill. All right, here we go.
You already know me. I ain't never scared.
So we go get to some truths here. We gonna bring it up. And here's a big topic. Hopefully, I'm not gonna scare too many people off, but I don't care. Y'all not babies. We're not here to sugarcoat, folks. Everybody knows what's going on with this AI. Everybody's going crazy over AI. Oh, use AI to make yourself some money. Use AI to answer all your questions. Use AI to write your test paper. Use AI to write your new policy. But what happens when AI helps you to do this? AI is resurrecting the dead, with or without your permission. Initial thoughts about that?
I don't even mess with AI. I don't even know what it is to the full capacity of what it's capable of doing, because it sounds like some robot stuff, and I'm not trying to have nobody come over here and hack my brain and take over my house and kill me while I'm sleeping or none of that.
we need to be careful, because AI is becoming the new God.
Right. And so, I'm scared.
But we can't be scared of it. We gotta understand it. We gotta know how to utilize it. We gotta know how to train it. And that's one of the things that happened to us, unfortunately. It's something like this where we have an opportunity to manipulate it, to put the kind of things in place so it can benefit us.
Mm-hmm.
Traditionally, we shy away from it, but we have to get involved, because a lot of the data that's feeding it is the data from the same folks who don't like us.
Valid point.
So what'll happen is you'll find that AI is It hasn't come. It is very much anti-black.
Hmm.
You just got to
Yes.
ask it the right question, and it will give you the answer that you don't want to hear, or that may hurt your feelings. So we have to make sure that we're taking part in a lot of this stuff, so that we can input our data into the master database. And unfortunately, we don't do that.
Well,
Right.
now you done give me the incentive to learn now.
So
Well, we got to.
let me read a little bit of the byline, and then we can chop it up. Creators have been using generative AI tools like ChatGPT and Midjourney to create videos of the dead in cases where they've never gone or given consent. Why it matters. Surviving relatives and fans could find solace in AI recreations of their loved ones, but the practice also raises a host of privacy and internet consent issues. Like what's happening in a generative AI innovation right now. Startups and content creators are already using AI generated facsimiles of the dead without considering the consequences. It says, let me see. There was a part of this I wanted to read. It says big picture AI isn't by any means the first tech deployed to reanimate. It says, but using AI to reproduce the dead will create issues that experts say you can't even imagine yet. Even on just a practical level, who's going to maintain these systems over time? And bequeathing a chatbot version of yourself could make it hard for a loved one who is trying to move on. Wow. Talk about throwing confusion in the game.
Mm-hmm. Well, one of the things that they're doing now is that they are working on implanting memories and consciousness in the other individuals. And if you can't do it kind of organically, what other way to do it than to have them hooked to a master database? And that person resurrected, say I passed and it resurrected my, uh, uh, you know, information in my brain that can then, give something a new consciousness and walking around this planet.
Imagine if you can't imagine how difficult it is to explain life and death to a 9 to 13-year-old. And then all of a sudden you see Nana back on the TV when your little one thought Nana was gone. And now
Mm-hmm.
Nana is interacting with you because that's Nana's consciousness that you're listening to on television. Imagine a cognitive dissonance that creates in a young person's brain about
Mm-hmm.
life, death, and survivor's remorse. What's your thoughts about that, Jazzy?
I don't have any. I'm just listening because I don't know much about any of the AI informative stuff. I mean,
Well, let's just deal in the plain plane of it all.
okay.
How would you feel if a relative of yours passed away? You guys went through the trauma of losing that loved one.
Mm-hmm.
Now, someone without your permission puts the consciousness of your relative on a greeting card or a video game without your permission or something on YouTube, and your child comes across Nana or Grand Nana on the tube, and they got to deal with that.
So it's basically in a sense of like protecting our intellectual property in a sense. So artificial intelligence would then, I'll be livid, I'll be hot, I would be very upset. And at the
Yeah.
end, because it's kind of like it reminds me of the situation with I can't remember, forgive me, it's on the tip of my tongue. The helia cells.
Mm-hmm.
You know where I'm hitting at, right,
Henrietta
Mozzie?
Lacks.
Henrietta
Yes.
Lacks.
Yep.
Mhm.
It reminds me of Henrietta Lacks and that whole debacle, and and the family and all the trials and tribulations they had to go through for that. So it's just basically, in a sense, history repeating itself, but just in a different format, in a different form, rather.
And think of some of our great minds
Mm-hmm.
that were due to various types of microaggressions passed before their time.
Right.
Now we can bring them back because they were onto something that society wasn't ready for. And now we may be ready for it, so we can bring them back and utilize that thought process to finish the equation.
Mm.
Now
That's
that's
definitely,
now that would be one of the positives of it.
that's advantageous.
If you were
But they
trying
would
to
have,
harness the power of it, yeah.
but the problem is, I think if they bring it back, it's to manipulate and control it so that they can benefit from it, not them, not the we.
Right.
And that will be the bigger problem.
And that's where I was hitting at from the intellectual property
Mm-hmm.
part. Because nowadays, I had read, even through like during the pandemic and after, and in regards to case law and things like that, and the type of law that's gonna always is gonna go on the rise within the next, I don't know, it's already starting to take place now, but then even in 5 years, in the future, intellectual property law is a law that's not studied very often. And that's definitely going to be on the rise because of all the small businesses that exist, all the different technologies that are being created, people becoming more knowledgeable about how to register and obtain patents and trademarks and things of that nature. So I think that it's important to kind of, like, I've been studying and kind of getting myself better versed in intellectual property law, um, just for my own personal gain. But I think that more people should take the incentive and do it, so that way it would benefit us in the end.
What's going to be interesting, though, is content creators. Especially when you're talking about intellectual property.
Right.
How's it going? A lot of these content creators don't copyright their material.
Exactly. Because they don't know how.
So, but this is what's going to happen, kind of like what's going on in the real estate industry. AI is going to take over because a
Mm,
lot of this law stuff now is going online. So what's going to happen is it's just going to self-file
mm.
its its own intellectual property that's somebody else's, but they're going to go ahead and file it electronically or digitally into the system, and before you know it, they're now controlling what you can say and what you can do.
Yeah, that even happened during the pandemic. They transitioned in New York courts. Everything is being filed and processed during online, and now Hochul just passed legislation that's due to take effect January 1st of the upcoming year that no longer requires notary. So basically, anybody can file a civil or put in a petition to the courts, and it
Mm.
does not have to be notarized.
Now, why would you do something that says backwards as that? Because here's the problem. Two things.
Hmm.
One, you want to make sure that what people sending is legit. And if it's not legit, most people ain't going to try and get it notarized. And two, um, there's an industry, a notary industry
Mm-hmm.
where
Yep.
you can
Nope.
people make a good living doing that.
Well, that's about to go away because she just passed it and it's due to hit. And it's going into effect. Actually, she just signed off on it in October, and it's due to take effect in January.
Now, is that one of the jobs that we talk about automation automatically replacing?
It'll no longer be a requirement, well, for New York State as a whole, but I don't know in federal how that would work. But in here, it doesn't apply. We would not have to get a notary just to file a petition in courts.
And for other things as well, other document related
That
necessities
I
as
don't
well.
know. That I don't know if it. So I haven't read the full detailed line of the law, and what it pertains to, but I just know that with regards to like filing petitions in courts, just to get before a judge or what have you. They said it was an attempt to combat, people who were, low, median income people who couldn't afford to pay for a notary service. So that way it wouldn't prevent them from being able to file a charge. But I'm like, you can go right to the clerk's office right there and they do it right there.
One more again, we are giving up our rights
Freedom.
as sovereign citizens for meager benefits.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm surprised I didn't know that.
Well, I could see it coming.
True. Indeed.
I didn't have to know that in particular to know that AI could definitely do the job of 10 to 15 people, and it's going to revolutionize practically every industry in every way.
Right.
And, you should be aware of everything coming down the pipe as far as that AI is concerned, because
because now they'll even be able to file your case. Like Mozzie said, they'll file your own case, your own petitions for you, and you won't even know.
Right. Now, what happens when there's an algorithm that has a firewall that blocks you from being able to do those things in a timely manner, and now you can't do the things that are advantageous for yourself in the court of law?
Or
because it's not human related anymore. Now it's AI firewall blocked.
And what if one day you out there doing your YouTubing and you doing all on this stuff, doing this content, and all of a sudden you get a letter in mail, somebody suing you in court.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And so now you got to answer that, and you saying, well, wait a minute, this is something that I did. This is mine. This is my brainchild. So I'm not that's not what this says. So you got to hand it over.
Hey, I got a trick for that. I'm not gonna say that on the air, but I got a trick for that.
Keep it.
Yeah, I can't. I got it because I thought of that, and I said I got to protect myself. So I got a trick for that. But I can't say that on the air because I might not be on it on Wednesday if I say.
I'm crying.
I might not be on the air on Wednesday if I say what my trick is, but
we ain't gonna say nope. We don't know.
I'm gonna keep that. I'm gonna keep that under the hat. Hey,
this is
powerful. This has been a powerful, dope episode of the Real HD Show. We had a higher discussion tonight. I appreciate everybody jumped on. Thank you to Jazzy. Thank you to Mozzie. Thank you to everybody watching on the many, many platforms that we're on. Like, share, subscribe, and as always, peace and walk with power. Do you guys have anything you guys want to promote or throw on the air in the last minute that you guys want to tell people about that's going on with y'all?
No, just catch me on Wednesday.
Okay.
Make sure you tune into the Real HD, where we try to give you that higher discussion, as was stated earlier, and let's keep the conversation going.
Yeah, I'm not promoting nothing either. I'm just, in the silos, contributing and doing what I do best.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Blessings to you and your family. Blessings to all the listeners. Love on each other. And this is the Real HD Show, the higher discussion. And we are out.
Peace.